Hello YouTubers, thank you for tuning in to TTV, Transportation Translation Videos. And today's topic is going to be about your hours of service, the 11, 14, and 70-hour rule. This is strictly targeted towards the OTR drivers, the over-the-road drivers, especially the ones that's coming straight out of truck driving school. Alright, I got a couple props that's going to kind of help me out with your hours of service explanation, because having your license is just one small part of it. Not knowing anything about your hours of service will hurt you going to these companies, because the companies are dictated by the hours of service. And if you don't even have a clue about it, then you're kind of at a disadvantage. So it's going to be my job today to kind of give you not a very long drawn technical answer, but kind of give you an idea of how your hours of service work. So alright, so the 11, 14, and 70-hour rule, I got a couple of props that kind of help me out today, okay? I got a truck here to represent the 11-hour driving rule. I kind of have a hourglass. I'm going to use this prop to represent the 14-hour clock. And of course I have a money bag here. And this money bag is going to represent the 70-hour clock, okay? Alright, first of all, the 11 hours of driving, the 11, 14, and 70-hour rule. The 11 hours of driving, the only time this clock is actually going to move is when the truck is being driven. You can only drive 11 hours in a 14-hour period. Okay, this hourglass here is going to represent the 14-hour clock. And of course, like I said, the money bag is going to represent the 70-hour clock. Okay, we all know in the trucking world, there are certain things that you must be on duty for. You know, pre-trips, post-trip, fueling, so on and so forth. And the moment that you go on duty for something, you have started your day. Let's say we go on duty right now. Just go on duty right now. Keyword here is on duty. You go on duty right now for a pre-trip. And once you go on duty, you just started your day. And let's say the sand in this hourglass takes 14 hours for it to drip out. You have a 14-hour window of opportunity to try to get as much of that 11 hours of driving done as possible. The only time the 11-hour clock is going to move is when the truck is being actually driven. But from the moment that you went on duty for something, you have a 14-hour window of opportunity to get as much of that 11 hours of driving done as possible. Even if you go off duty right now, this doesn't stop. You have started your day. You have a 14-hour window of opportunity to get 11 of it of actually driving the truck done. All right, so here's my example. Let's say you went on duty at 1 a.m. this morning, 1 a.m. We already know from 1 a.m. to 1 this afternoon is 12 hours. You just add 2 to whatever number I say, and there's your 14-hour clock. If I say you start your day at 1 a.m., well, from 1 a.m. to 1 this afternoon is 12 hours. That means 3 o'clock. You just add 2 to whatever number I say. 3 o'clock is my 14-hour window of opportunity to get as much of that 11 hours of driving done as possible. And I have a 70-hour work week. But we're just going to stay focused on 11 and the 14 right now. Okay, so here's my example. So you went on duty at 1 a.m. 1 a.m. And let's just say you started driving at 1 a.m. and you drove 11 hours straight. Of course, we know about the 30-minute rest break room, so on and so forth. Listen, I'm not going to get technical in these videos. We're going to do one thing at a time. If you like these videos, if you like the way I explain it, then I'll do more videos and I'll get even more in depth with this hours of service. But we're going to strictly stay focused on 11, 14, and 70-hour rule. One thing at a time, okay? All right, so you start your day at 1 a.m. That means you got until what? 3 o'clock this afternoon. That's your 14-hour window of opportunity. Hypothetically, let's say you start driving at 1 a.m. and you drove your entire 11 hours of driving straight. Because you know you can only drive 11 hours in a 14-hour period. Let's just say you start driving at 1 a.m. and you drove 11 hours. That means you would have stopped at 12 noon. Because you can only drive 11 hours in a 14-hour period. But you had up until 3 o'clock to actually get the driving done. Of course, you're going to get stuck in traffic. Of course, you're going to be bagged up the docks. Of course, you're going to stop at truck stops and eat and so on and so forth. You get a 14-hour window of opportunity to get 11 of it of actually driving the truck done. If you get all 11 hours of driving done before it hit 3 o'clock, well, stop, because you can only drive 11 hours in a 14-hour period. It's time for a 10-hour break. If you don't get all 11 hours of driving done, once this sand drip out or once it hit 3 o'clock, it's over. One or the other is going to happen. 14-hour clock is just a window of opportunity to get 11 of it of actually driving the truck done. Okay? Now, the 70-hour clock. I like to always ask people this when I'm explaining this. Can you stop the 70-hour clock? And usually when I ask this question, the answer is no. And that's totally not true. The 70-hour clock only moves when you're doing on-duty things like pre-trip, post-trip, fueling, or driving. It only moves. You can stop the 70-hour clock at any time by simply going off duty. My point to pointing this out is the time you salvage up under the 70-hour clock is the difference in you doing 2 loads and 4 loads for this company.